Wow guys, what a beautiful day. It's absolutely stunning. I'm sitting here without a jacket on the first time since October, I believe. It absolutely is a gorgeous day. So I've just brewed up the Kelly, sitting having a cuppa. Just done a ride up to a little butcher's that we've been using for a little while now. And what I really love to do is on a Friday is take that kind of ride up, resupply, and you know, before turning around is having a brew, cooking up some brunch, some lunch, and then turning around and kind of going back, you know, kind of making a couple of hours out of it. And it's just a lovely thing to do. Especially at the end of the week, especially when we've been really busy consulting and you know, kind of a lot going on with the family. My dear granddad, you know, each day we're really surprised that, God bless him, he's still with us. He's such a strong man, but he is, you know, very much in the last days of his life, and you know, coming up here on a end of a week just kind of gives you the opportunity to kind of, you know, almost stop, pause, reflect and integrate all that's going on. And I think that's really essential for life, that we create those stops and pauses, and you know, nature is such a good way to kind of do that, really. So yeah, got a brew on, had some lunch, had one of their most wonderful famous pies, Flanagan pies. Really lovely. So the whole plan, very short video, but the whole plan for the coming weekend is, if the weather holds up, because here we are today, not sitting here with a jacket on, we're in double figures. Come tomorrow, the temperature is meant to plummet down to about -5. We've got another cold Arctic front coming in on the way up into the UK. Second wave of the beast of the east. That sounds really kind of terrifying, doesn't it? And we're meant to have some snow and very kind of icy conditions, but you know, it's hard to believe that today, sitting here and the temperatures in double figures. You can see the buds on the trees. I've heard the woodpecker, and there's beginning to the first signs of leaf as the bud starts to break. So it's hard to believe that that's where we'll be at tomorrow. But if the weather holds up and it stays safe enough to kind of get out, drive over to this wonderful beautiful piece of woodland that we've got the honour and privilege, and what a blessing it is to be able to use. We are going to dry run. It's going to be a real learning experience of putting up the parachute shelter in preparation for our up and coming wild Easter camp. And yeah, really looking forward to that. We're going to kind of get up onto that piece of land, beautiful woodland, and learn all about putting up a parachute shelter, cook up some lunch, and take the little ones with us, and have a kind of bit of a mini venture for a few hours. And as I say, you know, the whole thing about all of this is, you know, kind of showing people what is possible, kind of taking the impossible and making it possible. You know, I was kind of told many years ago that I would end up in a wheelchair. I've had to learn to re-walk again, and you know, cycling and adventuring has been the most incredible form of rehabilitation. But the other thing that it does is it does put you back in touch with self. You know, the more we separate ourselves from nature, I think the further we actually come from ourselves. You know, you've only got to take technology now. And I was listening to this amazing gentleman that lives on the Yukon river, and he was saying about how he stripped back all his technology down to the fact that they were using snowmobiles, and then he learned how to use sleds and dogs, so everything become less complicated, become more simplified. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. The more overcomplicated life becomes, the more we kind of move away from ourselves. Some of the posts that I've been putting up this last week about being very mindful what you say yes to. You know, saying yes to one thing means you're saying no to another. So being very mindful of what you say yes to, and making sure you're not saying no to yourself. I think though, one of the things that we need to say absolutely yes to more of is time out in the great outdoors. You know, it's one of the greatest, I found one of the greatest teachers. You know, I've done a huge amount of personal development, but the great outdoors has been, and life has been, my greatest teacher, and it is probably one of the greatest healers. In fact, you know, it just kind of allows you to kind of drop back into self. And I think there's something very, very special about that, you know, sitting around a fire, and being present with people. You can't beat that. And that whole sense of conversation shared and stories shared and experience shared, you can't beat that. Or you can't beat kind of, you know, taking that walk up that hill or taking that ride along that trail. Whatever way it is, there's something very special about nature. So whatever you say yes to, most definitely I encourage and inspire you to say yes to more of this. But weather holding up, we get out there, we learn all about putting up parachute shelters, and I think for me that it has been, you know, the whole journey of being outdoors has been such a learning curve these last few years. You know, learning all the skills that I learned to go up into the western coast of Scotland. You know, it was such a learning curve that doesn't stop, and I think all the time we're learning, we're growing. I'm going to leave that with you, and hopefully, you know, the weather will hold up. We shall see what it brings, and I'll be seeing you all very soon. Take care, guys. Have a beautiful afternoon. Just going to leave you with the view. Fantastic. See you soon, guys. Bye.